Hey there everybody, it's the Swamp Cleaner and I'm back with another video. Yes, it's been a little while, but of course, I was taking that holiday break. I hope you guys all enjoyed your holiday breaks. Afterwards, you know how it is. A lot of people get in that depressed, sluggish mentality for that first month. Didn't really feel like making videos, but definitely I got the fire in my belly today to make a video because as a Canadian citizen, as a permanent resident of the United States, this story hits very close to home because if you are not aware, there's been a trucker convoy protest that has started in Canada and has only expanded to a global movement now. And these truckers in Canada went to Ottawa to have their voices and their horns be heard by demanding the end of all the restrictions, all the mandates, the vaccine passports, everything that has turned our lives upside down the past 2 years, and everything which has been done by the government. So these people, they're average people, they're patriots, they just want their lives back. They have done the proper thing, which is civil disobedience, nonviolent civil disobedience. They've taken their trucks and they've blocked some highways. They've taken their trucks and they've jammed the city streets of Ottawa to get the attention, to make sure that the government knows that they're there and hears them. But for all their good efforts, for all the actual efforts that these truckers have done to make this a successful peaceful protest has literally been poo-pooed by Justin Trudeau and his governments, and including the some of the provincial governments as well. Today, the Canadian government has invoked the Emergencies Act, which is Canada's version of martial law. The government has decided we don't have any time of day for any of these protesters anymore. They don't even call them protesters anymore. That's why I was using quotations. They're outright calling them terrorists. And they've been using that rhetoric for the past week because they've been trying to, and unsuccessfully, they've been trying to demonize the truckers as racists, homophobes, misogynists, all the bad words under the sun to no avail. So now they've, push comes to shove, they're taking the gloves off. They are now allowed to use federal government resources to supersede any kind of provincial government laws or mandates, and they can impose federal rule onto individuals in Canada. Any truckers, any people supporting this actual peaceful protest is going to get their bank accounts frozen and taken from them without any court orders. They'll have their trucks impounded, their insurance suspended, their licenses revoked, pretty much making them destitute. Going to turn them into I guess they're going to turn them into homeless people. I mean, I'm sure they have houses, but I wouldn't put it past them if these truckers still hold out. They'll just increase the penalties by saying if you keep staying around here, we'll start taking your houses and we'll start taking your complete savings too. We'll start doing that. And of course, oh yeah, and the government has given immunity to any banks or any kind of mortgage lenders or anything like that, or insurance companies who cancel people for expressing themselves and using their rights to protest peacefully. Now remember, the rhetoric is coming from the government, and the media is trying to convince you that these are the worst people in the world, that they're terrorists, they're hateful bigots, they want to get your kids sick, they want to spread COVID around, they want to kill grandma with COVID, they want to undermine democracy. I love that word because the Democrats here in the United States use that phrase too, or our democracy is a threat. And I just think about it. They've used this rhetoric on this group of people, truckers, who have just simply blared their horns, dancing in the streets, and even had a hot tub set up. I mean, yeah, it's so dangerous, so violent, right? And I just think to myself, what would the reaction have been if this government, if these government decisions to act this way were used on BLM and Antifa in 2020. And I bring this up to any of these lefties who are cheering on for jackboot thug cops to, enforce the law. I just asked him simply, did you support the BLM protests in 2020? Because that is where these reactions would actually have some merit to them. Like how the government is talking, it would have actually had some merit. It would better fit in the scenarios of the riots and the destruction going on during the Black Lives Matter protests. And I have people on Twitter saying, well, that's in America. That's not Canada. Canadian BLM movements are peaceful. I was just like, really? What happened last year, 2021, where there was this fake news about Native First peoples in Canada? They call them the First Nations. There was supposedly a mass grave of First Nations children, which was uncovered, and that sparked nationwide protests, which concluded with statues of Sir John A. Macdonald, the first Prime Minister of Canada, and the Queen Victoria. I believe it was Queen Victoria. I don't think it was Queen Elizabeth, but statues of Queen Victoria and statues of Sir John A. Macdonald were torn down across the country. And what was the reaction from Justin Trudeau and his administration? Oh, we understand the anger of the protesters. So they tacitly just agree with what the protests, with what those rioters are doing. I got to use the terms right, because if you start using words in the way the left wants, you just lose and you concede ground. So the BLM rioters and the Antifa terrorists who were actually burning things down, destroying statues, and killing people were handled with kid gloves, and the cops bent on their knees. And juxtapose that with the actual peaceful trucker protest where there has been no violence. There's maybe been like some civil disturbances, like as in like maybe heckling or something, but that's as much as it can go. And then this whole thing of supposedly they stole from a soup kitchen, when if you actually look at the story, they asked the soup kitchen if they could hand stuff out to the truckers, and they agreed to, and the soup kitchen said, yeah, okay, that's fine. So these protesters have not been violent in any way, shape, or form, but the response to them is that they must be stopped, they are dangerous, and we're going to do things to them to tighten the screw in order to get them to stop. We're going to try everything in our power to end this protest, besides actually talking to any of the protesters. I would actually, it would be hard pressed to believe that anybody in Justin Trudeau's administration actually knows the position of what the truckers want. Like, I don't think any of them could articulate to you what the truckers are there for. All they're going to do is spew the mainstream media narrative that they have concocted for themselves. And you see that in the response. They don't treat these people with respect, so they have the cops go in and literally steal fuel from the truckers, including firewood, stuff that keeps people warm at night, especially in February in Canada where it's really cold. And they think that this is going to get the people to stop. We're gonna, take away your fuel. We're gonna stop your money from coming in. I'm gonna get into this. This is I'm gonna play these videos for you. This is the Deputy Prime Minister just a few hours ago explaining how these emergency powers are going to work, and how any trucker or any protester is literally going to get their lives destroyed by this. That they have no time of day for anything here. They have convinced themselves of this giant lie that they're tying into the January 6th stuff here in the States. The City Council of Ottawa, well, you could hear them in their Zoom meeting using the same rhetoric the Democrats use to try to smear conservatives, Republicans, Trump supporters as being insurrectionists and being terrorists. They call them that. They call these people, it's an insurrection, it's a blockade, it's an illegal occupation. Well, funny that, because I know that the city council leaned on GoFundMe to end financing, which they did, but it's funny that they called this an occupation. But what the Chaz Trop was in Seattle in 2020 was nothing of the sort. That was just fighting for social and racial justice. It's quite startling how quickly the rhetoric will shift and how unabashedly these people will just double down on their rhetoric and not worrying about people calling them out for their complete double standards. They are secure in themselves that they think that they can move forward with these powers and people will just sit down and shut up. So I'm going to stop droning on for a second. I'm going to just let you listen to the Deputy Prime Minister and what she has to say when it comes to the powers that have now been implemented and what that means for the protesters.
We are announcing the following immediate actions. First, we are broadening the scope of Canada's anti-money laundering and terrorist financing rules so that they cover crowdfunding platforms.
Oh, crowdfunding. Because, when I'm assuming, Antifa uses crowdfunding, or when Black Lives Matter uses crowdfunding, that's okay, and it is, because they don't go after them. But now, because it's for a protest that we disagree with and we're the people in power, we're going to use our power unjustifiably and, in my opinion, illegally to expand the definitions of what money laundering is for the illicit purposes of shutting down this specific protest that we're dealing with right now. This is why authoritarianism or the startings of this overarching power is dangerous, because they can just start picking and choosing when to invoke these powers and for how long and for what reasons. It's completely arbitrary. That's how you know that there is no standards when it comes to whoever is making that decision at the time, because the decisions at the time are based on the input that they themselves add to the mix. So they'll have they'll hire some analysts who will work for them and say, "Oh yeah, the thing that you're trying to shut down, that's a really bad thing. Us as analysts say you should do it." I mean, well, here, let me just continue, because it gets nuts. It gets worse than this.
And the payment service providers they use. These changes cover all forms of transactions, including digital assets, such as cryptocurrencies.
Boom. It's because GoFundMe cucked to the government, said, okay, we'll just freeze it and completely screw that up, and they did. So then they turned to Give, Send, Go, which is still just, using payment systems and collecting fiat currency for the people. Give, Send, Go gave a middle finger to the government. So the government says, well, we're going to court order, have the banks here freeze those funds from getting in here. And then Bitcoin was like, hold my beer, y'all can go screw yourselves. There's no way you can regulate Bitcoin. There's no way you can stop Bitcoin. And how are they going to actually stop Bitcoin when it is literally peer-to-peer? Like, it's encrypted on both ends, and you're not going through a financial institution to make that happen. It's through the blockchain. like the transactions happen, I believe. Don't quote me on this. I could be completely wrong with the Bitcoin because I still don't understand Bitcoin. I'd love to get some Bitcoin, but I think I've already missed the train. But I'm trying to understand how they're going to enforce that when Bitcoin doesn't go through traditional financial institutions. It goes through blockchain. So, what are they going to do? Are they going to just put a stingray device and like just turn off everybody's internet or something like that? I mean, and yeah, I know that's a dumb argument because I've seen people on Twitter arguing it's like against crypto, saying, "Well, what happens if the power goes out? How are you going to get your crypto?" Apparently, yeah, you can still get your crypto somehow. I don't know how it works, but it's going to be really tough for them to try to enforce this. But this is why they're expanding this in the first place, because they were able to stop the traditional avenues of money, but now since Bitcoin is not the same, it's not normal fiat currency that is under the same rules and regulations, they're desperately now going to just use this protest, this instance, as a justification for now completely regulating crypto. As in, if you don't, get crypto through a authoritative financial institution, your cryptocurrency is illegal. You'll get fined. You'll get thrown in jail. Yada yada yada. But I'm getting besides why I'm getting into this crypto thing. But let's continue with Miss Fascist here.
The illegal blockades have highlighted the fact that crowdfunding
protests. See, they like to use the words illegal, blockade, terrorism when it's just a peaceful protest.
Platforms and some of the payment service providers they use are not fully captured under the Proceeds of Crime and Terrorist Financing Act. Our banks and financial institutions are already obligated to report to the financial transactions and
like, listen to the smugness too. Like, look how she's all like, you have to listen to what I say, and whatever we say goes. Let me go sip some more champagne and have some more caviar. Bitch.
Reports Analysis Center of Canada, or Fintrac. As of today, all crowdfunding platforms and the payment service providers they use must register with Fintrac, and they must report large and suspicious transactions.
How are you going to do that? You can't stop them then. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. So that was the first one. Now this is her. This is her saying, if you're a trucker, you're gonna get your bank account seized. They say corporate accounts. So do they mean But here's the thing: if they start with corporate accounts, they can just if the pressure isn't high enough, they'll go after your savings account. Then they'll go after your home. Yeah, if they're going this far, everybody. If they're going this far, why wouldn't they go any further? I mean, they've already passed the Rubicon. They've now done martial law. They're doing stuff unilaterally, illegally, but they're saying, well, it's not illegal because we say so, and anybody who's doing what we want them to do, doing our bidding, you'll get protection from any legal action that happens afterwards. So they know that what is happening could be contested in a court of law as being illegal. So they're adding the addendum to say, well, you're immune from any prosecution. God, it's just like how Pfizer and Moderna and all these drug companies were given immunity when it comes to these vaccines that... Okay, I don't want to get into that. That could get my account video taken down and get my account suspended. But, I mean, these vaccines are not up to snuff, okay? These vaccines are kind of shit. But that's beside the point. We're getting off track again. But here we go. Let's listen to Miss Fascist, Mrs. Mr. Who knows. Maybe she identifies as a man. But she's going to tell you how you're going to have your life completely ground to a halt because she says so.
This is about following the money.
Oh, follow the money.
This is about stopping the financing of these illegal blockades. We are today serving notice.
Oh.
If your truck is being used in these illegal blockades, Your corporate accounts will be frozen. The insurance on your vehicle will be suspended. Send your semi-trailers home.
Screw you.
The Canadian economy needs them to be doing legitimate work, not to be illegally making us.
I'm sorry, but in my opinion, legitimate use is actually taking your property and going to protest for your rights. That's a legitimate use of your time, of your money, of your energy. Don't let this bitch tell you otherwise, because she is trying to force you under her iron fist and make you do what she wants. Because remember, these people are disconnected, high society elites. They work for themselves. They are the haves. She's a have. You're a have-not. So this have is telling the have-nots how it goes. We need to give her a very rude awakening. All right, let's go to the final clip of this fascist woman. It says, this is literal madness. Canada's Deputy Prime Minister says under the Emergency Act, banks can immediately freeze and suspend bank accounts without the court orders. Yeah, so it's pretty much she's reinforcing what this is, but stating that they can do it without government or without a court order. As in, the government says jump, and the banking administrations or banking institutions will say how high. Here we go.
Their relationships with anyone involved in the illegal blockades and report to the RCMP or CSIS. As of today, a bank or other financial service provider will be able to immediately freeze or suspend an account without a court order. In doing so, they will be protected against civil liability for actions taken in good faith.
Good faith? What's good faith? The good faith that they're doing this at the behest of the government because we're stopping the terrorists from undermining our democracy? Is that the good faith? So no. The people who are not acting in good faith is you, Justin Trudeau, and the entire government. You're acting in bad faith. You're bad faith actors smearing a group of legitimate protesters, smearing a group of peaceful people who just want their lives to get back to normal, and you say, harumph, how dare you challenge us in our authority? We're looking out for you. Is that not good enough? Is our word that we are looking out for you not good enough? Well, fine then. Here's a backhand for you. Now sit back down, you ingrate. That's their attitude. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap this video up here. I came home. I was at work when I saw this information break. So I had to get home and I had to just get my thoughts out there. But this is another level. This is another major escalation in this whole divisive rhetoric, and this whole breaking down of social cohesion between groups of people, mainly because they just disagree on how effective a vaccine is, or disagree that a government should not be micromanaging everybody's day-to-day lives. It's crazy how the faction of pro-mandates, pro-government authoritarianism has expanded. Like how all these people online on Twitter are just like, yeah, daddy government, lock me down harder. Yeah, send the cops in, crack these people's skulls, they're terrorists. I'm like, would you say that about BLM when they were actually killing people? Would you say that about BLM when they're burning down businesses, some including with the people still inside them, murdering those people? Would you say those things about BLM? No, because why? Checks notes. BLM is, they're on our side ideologically and politically, so they're fine. What's this trucker movement? Oh, they are not on our side ideologically or politically, so screw them. It's as simple as that. It's not double standards. It's just left and right standards. Whatever is good for the left is wonderful, positive, uplifting, progressive, stunning, and brave. Whatever's good for the right, it's evil, racist, misogynistic, homophobic. It's a threat to our democracy. That is the current discourse of our politics and of the average person who's trying to bridge the divide. You get that coming from the other side. Just names, ad hominems, and we're just spinning in circles. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. It's been the Swamp Cleaner. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.